New York City, 1963. The wind blew strong on the rooftop. 17-year-old Michael Carter stood at the edge, staring at the streets below. He wore a torn jacket and old sneakers. His hands were cold, but his eyes were sharp. Behind him, someone called out, "Mike! You're gonna fall." It was James Walker, his best friend since childhood. James walked over and stood next to him. They looked down together. "This place, it's broken," Michael said quietly. James nodded. "Yeah. But it's still home." They had lived on that same block since they were 5. Their mothers worked as maids. Their fathers were long gone. They grew up with street noise, sirens, and shadows. But they had each other. And that meant something. Michael took a deep breath. "We make a promise." James raised an eyebrow. "What kind of promise?" Michael turned and looked straight at him. "We don't fight. We don't end up in gangs. We stay out of trouble. Forever." James laughed. "That's not easy, Mike." "I'm serious," Michael said. "We finish school. We leave this place one day. For good." James looked at his friend. Then, slowly, he nodded. "All right. I promise." They shook hands. But 1 hour later, the promise would be broken. It started with a scream. Michael and James were walking back from the store when they heard it. The sound came from behind the old basketball court, a place most kids avoided after dark. They ran toward it. On the ground was Tyrell, James's little brother. His face was swollen. Blood ran from his nose. He could barely speak. "Who did this?" James asked, kneeling beside him. Tyrell coughed. "Iron Fangs." Michael froze. The Iron Fangs were the most feared gang in the neighborhood. They didn't just fight. They controlled the streets, drugs, weapons, and fear. No one crossed them. James's hands shook with anger. "Why him?" "He saw them beat up a guy," Tyrell whispered. "Tried to help. They jumped him." Michael looked around. Shadows moved in the distance. "We need to get out of here." They carried Tyrell back to James's apartment. Their mother cried when she saw his face. She called the police, but no one came. The next morning, a black car parked outside Michael's building. A man stepped out. Tall. Black leather jacket. A scar across his cheek. He didn't speak. He just stared at Michael, then smiled and walked away. Michael knew what it meant. Later that day, Michael and James sat on the rooftop again. "We can't let this go," Michael said. "They're not going to stop." James shook his head. "We made a promise." Michael clenched his fist. "That was before they touched your brother." James looked away. "If we fight them, we become like them." "No," Michael said. "We fight to stop them." James didn't answer. The silence between them felt heavy. That evening, Michael went to the old boxing gym on 12th Street. The place smelled like sweat and dust. Inside was Tom Jenkins, a retired fighter who once trained champions. Now, he cleaned floors and drank too much coffee. "You're not here for fitness," Tom said, without looking up. Michael stood in front of him. "Teach me." Tom looked at the boy. "Why?" "Because I'm tired of running." Tom shook his head. "You want to fight? You'll lose more than teeth." "I don't care." Tom stared at him for a long time. Then he said, "Come back tomorrow. 5 a.m. No excuses." Michael nodded and left. That night, someone knocked on James's door. He opened it and saw Tyrell, standing weakly, holding something in his hand. His shirt was soaked in blood. "Help me," he whispered. James grabbed him. "What happened?" Tyrell pointed down the hall. They're coming. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell. James dragged his brother inside. Locked the door. Turned off the lights. He looked at Tyrell, then picked up the phone. No dial tone. His eyes met Michael's across the street, who had seen everything through his window. Michael ran. The camera zooms in on James's face. He holds his injured brother close. The shadows move outside. Someone is coming. Then James whispers. What do we do now? Cut to black. The sirens never came. Michael ran up the stairs of James's building. The door was locked. He banged on it. It's me. James opened the door. Tyrell was lying on the floor, bleeding and shaking. Michael stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The apartment was dark, except for the weak light from the kitchen. What happened? Michael asked. James looked tired. They followed him. Beat him again. Said next time, it'll be me. Michael's jaw tightened. We go to the police. James shook his head. They don't care. They never do. Michael sat down next to Tyrell. The boy's face was pale. His hands were cold. He was scared, more than before. They'll come again, Tyrell whispered. Michael stood up. Then we stopped waiting. The next morning, Michael went back to the boxing gym. It was still dark outside. Tom Jenkins was already there, holding a cup of coffee. You came back, Tom said. Michael didn't speak. He just stepped into the ring. Tom threw him gloves. Let's see what you got. Michael moved fast. His punches were wild, full of anger. Tom didn't block him. He just watched. After 2 minutes, Michael was out of breath. Tom leaned on the ropes. That's not fighting. That's emotion. Michael looked at him, breathing hard. That's all I got. Tom shook his head. You fight like that on the streets, you die. Michael looked down. He knew Tom was right. Teach me, he said again. Tom nodded slowly. You train with me. But you don't fight unless you know why. Michael nodded. I do. Back on the block, James tried to keep quiet. He avoided the gang. Took different routes. Stayed home more. But one day, outside the store, a man from the Iron Fangs walked up to him. He was tall, bald, with gold teeth. People called him Reggie Sharp. He smiled, fake and cold. We heard you got a smart mouth, James. James didn't respond. Reggie stepped closer. You and your little friend. Michael. You think you're safe? We own this place. James stared at him. Not forever. Reggie leaned in. No. Just long enough to bury you. He walked away, laughing. James stood still. His hands were shaking. That night, James and Michael met again on the rooftop. They came for me, James said. Michael wasn't surprised. James looked at him. You still training? Michael nodded. Yeah. Every morning. James took a deep breath. Good. We'll need it. Michael looked at him. You in? James didn't answer at first. Then he said, I'm not fighting for revenge. I'm fighting to protect what's left. Michael nodded. That's enough. A few days later, Michael heard something new. A name. Trey. He was one of the top guys in the Iron Fangs. Rumor said he was the one who beat Tyrell. Rumor also said he used to be close with Michael. They played ball together when they were kids. Michael didn't believe it until he saw him. It was outside the gym. Trey was standing across the street, watching. Michael stepped forward. Trey smiled. Didn't think I'd see you again. Michael kept his hands at his sides. Why'd you do it? Trey shrugged. This is the game. You either play, or you get played. You used to care. Trey laughed. That was a long time ago. Michael stepped closer. You hurt a kid. Trey's face turned cold. Stay out of it, Mike. Or next time, you won't get a warning. He turned and walked away. Michael stood there, heart pounding. That night, James knocked on Michael's door. He looked serious. They're planning something. Michael frowned. What? Reggie and Trey. They're setting up a street fight next week. No rules. No limits. They want to show who runs this place. Michael's eyes narrowed. Then we show them they don't. Over the next days, Michael trained harder. He learned how to punch right, how to block, how to move fast. Tom taught him more than boxing. He taught him how to stay calm, how to watch people's eyes, how to win without losing his mind. You fight smart, Tom said. Not loud. Michael listened. Meanwhile, James talked to other kids on the block. Some were tired of the gang too. They didn't want to fight, but they were ready to stand. Something was changing. The streets felt different. Tense. Like something big was coming. Then, on Friday night, a brick flew through Michael's window. Inside the paper was a note. Fight or fall. Saturday. Midnight. Old train yard. Michael stared at the paper. James stood beside him. Looks like we got our invite, James said. Michael folded the paper and looked out the window. The street was dark. Silent. But not for long. The night was cold. Wind blew across the empty streets. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. But near the old train yard, it was quiet. Too quiet. Michael stood near the entrance. His fists were taped. Sweat dripped down his neck, even in the cold. James stood beside him. His hands were in his pockets, but his heart was racing. This is stupid, James whispered. We shouldn't be here. Michael didn't look at him. They sent the message. I'm answering. James stepped in front of him. You know what happens if you fight? They won't stop. You hit one, 10 more come. Michael finally looked at his friend. I have to. James's voice rose. And what about our promise? Michael took a deep breath. That promise broke the day they touched your brother. James stared at him. Hurt. Angry. Fine, he said. Go ahead. But don't expect me to save you. He turned and walked away. Michael didn't stop him. Inside the train yard, rusty metal creaked with the wind. A few old boxcars sat still, like sleeping giants. A circle of men stood around one of them, waiting. Reggie Sharp stepped out of the crowd, clapping slowly. Well, look who showed up, he said. The good boy with the golden heart. Michael didn't speak. Trey stood nearby, arms crossed. He didn't smile this time. Reggie pointed at the center. You want to play hero? Step in. Michael stepped forward. The crowd closed in. A tall fighter walked out. Muscles, tattoos, and a cruel smile. His name was Dante. Known for knocking out men twice his size. Tom's voice echoed in Michael's mind. Stay calm. Watch the eyes. Breathe. The fight began. Dante rushed fast, swinging hard. Michael ducked. Jabbed. Stepped back. The crowd cheered. Another punch. Michael blocked it. Hit back. Fast. Clean. Dante growled. You think you're better than me? Michael didn't answer. He hit again, and this time, Dante fell. The crowd went silent. Reggie looked shocked. Trey stepped forward, but said nothing. Michael turned and walked away. His knuckles were bleeding, but he didn't care. Outside the yard, James was waiting. "You done?" he asked. Michael nodded. James looked around. "That was one fight. They'll come harder now." "I know." The next day, word spread fast. Michael had beaten one of the Iron Fangs. Kids whispered his name on the block. Some smiled. Some warned him to stay inside. But one thing was clear: something had changed. Michael wasn't just a boy anymore. That evening, James came to the gym. Tom was there, wrapping Michael's hands. "You ready for war?" James asked. "No," Michael said. "I'm ready for something smarter." James raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Michael looked at Tom, then at his friend. "We don't beat them by fighting like them. We beat them by standing together." James nodded slowly. "We need help." Over the next few days, Michael and James started talking to other teens in the neighborhood, kids who were tired of being scared, tired of the gang, tired of silence. They found Deshawn, a quiet artist who knew how to use a camera. Lisa, a smart girl who ran a small blog. Tyree, who once stole cars but wanted out. Together, they started something new: not a gang, but a crew. Not with guns, but with truth. They called themselves the Block Watchers. They followed the Iron Fangs. Filmed them. Wrote names. Took photos. At night, they posted flyers. "You don't own these streets." One evening, Reggie walked into a bar and saw his own face on the wall under the word "coward." He ripped it down and shouted, "Who did this?" No one answered. James and Michael sat in James's apartment, reading their notes. "They're scared," James said. "You can feel it?" Michael nodded. "But scared animals bite." That night, someone broke into Deshawn's house. No one was hurt, but everything was destroyed. Lisa's blog went offline. Someone hacked it. Tyree was followed home by a black car. The Iron Fangs were striking back. Then it got worse. Tyrell didn't come home. James panicked. He called everyone. Nothing. Then his phone rang. A voice whispered, "Stop now, or he disappears forever." James dropped the phone. The rooftop. Midnight. Michael and James sat in silence. James looked broken. "They took my brother." Michael's voice was calm. "We get him back." James stood up. "How?" "We can't fight an army." Michael looked up. His eyes were cold. "Then we don't fight alone." James couldn't sleep. His younger brother, Tyrell, was missing. Taken by the Iron Fangs. No one had seen him for 24 hours. No calls. No messages. Just silence. Michael sat across from him, calm but focused. "We need to think smart," he said. James looked up. "What if they already?" "No," Michael said. "They want to scare us. Not kill him. Not yet." James stood up and started pacing. "What now?" "Police won't help. We can't call anyone." Michael nodded. "That's why we build our own army." James stared. "Army? We don't even have weapons." Michael smiled. "We don't need weapons. We have people. We have truth." Over the next few days, the plan came together. Michael, James, and their small team, the Block Watchers, met in secret. They spread across the neighborhood, collecting evidence. Deshawn fixed his camera and started recording again. Lisa rebuilt her blog and started writing names. Tyree found the old city blueprints of the Iron Fangs hideouts. They knew where the gang met. They knew who their leaders were. And now, they had a voice. Lisa published a post. "The Iron Fangs are not untouchable." It included photos, names, and video clips. The blog went viral. The local news picked it up. Suddenly, the streets weren't silent anymore. People talked. People whispered. People started to believe that change was possible. Reggie and Trey were furious. They called a meeting in the old warehouse near the train yard. Michael and James watched from across the street. Tyree had hacked a security camera inside. They saw everything. Reggie shouted, "They want a war? We'll give them one." Trey leaned forward. "No. This isn't about fists anymore. They're using cameras. Stories. People are turning." Reggie slammed his fist on the table. "Then we silence them. All of them." He gave orders. "Burn their blog. Break their bones. Take the girl. Show them we're still kings." Michael paused the video. "They're going after Lisa," he said. That night, Michael and James rushed to Lisa's building. They found her outside, scared but safe. "I saw a man waiting near the stairs," she said. "He left when he saw people around." James nodded. "They're watching." Michael stepped forward. "Then let them watch. We make the next move." The next morning, Michael walked into the boxing gym. Tom Jenkins was waiting. "You still want to fight?" Tom asked. Michael shook his head. "I want to finish this." Tom smiled. "Good. Because I have someone you should meet." From the back room, a tall man walked out. Gray beard. Broad shoulders. His name was Coach Harris, an old friend of Tom's. He had trained street fighters and turned them into champions. Michael looked at him. "Why are you here?" Coach Harris smiled. "Because I believe in second chances." That week, Michael trained harder than ever. Not just for a fight, for something bigger. Meanwhile, James kept building alliances. He spoke to older men in the community, ex-gang members, business owners, teachers. Many were scared, but tired of being quiet. One man, Mr. Collins, owned a small grocery store. He said, "We can't fight with fists. But we can show the world who they are." He gave them access to his roof for surveillance. Others followed. Then, a breakthrough. Tyree found an old tunnel map under the city. One tunnel led straight to a hidden Iron Fangs spot, the warehouse where they were holding Tyrell. The team moved fast. Deshaun and Lisa created a fake tip, leaked it online. Iron Fangs planning a secret meeting. Midnight. Warehouse. At the same time, James and Tyree prepared the tunnel. Michael got ready to go in. Saturday. Midnight. Police cars moved toward the warehouse, responding to the online tip. The Iron Fangs panicked. They ran. But Michael and James entered through the tunnel. Inside, they found Tyrell tied up but alive. Michael untied him. "You okay?" Tyrell nodded. "I knew you'd come." Suddenly, footsteps. Trey stepped out of the shadows. Alone. No gun. No smile. "I should have known it was you two," he said. James stood in front of his brother. "It's over, Trey." Trey looked around. Sirens grew louder outside. "You really think they'll save this place?" Michael walked forward. "No. But we will." Police entered from the front. Dozens of Iron Fangs were arrested. Michael, James, and Tyrell walked out the back unseen. The city was waking up. The next day, newspapers ran the headline: "Teen Team Breaks Gang Control in Harlem, the Block Watchers." The story spread across schools, blogs, and even TV. Michael became a symbol. Not a fighter but a leader. James stood beside him, stronger than ever. And Tyrell? He started writing his own stories. But something still burned inside Michael. He knew Reggie was still out there. He knew it wasn't over yet. Not until the real leader fell. 1 week later. The neighborhood felt different. The Iron Fangs were weak now. Many of their members had been arrested. Some disappeared. Others tried to act like they were never involved. But one man was still free. Reggie Sharp. No one had seen him since the raid. No one knew where he went. But Michael knew he wasn't done. Not yet. Michael sat in the boxing gym with Tom and Coach Harris. "He'll come back," Michael said. Tom nodded. "He lost control. He'll try to take it back." Michael looked down at his fists. "Then I need to be ready." Coach Harris walked over. "You don't win this with punches. You win it with proof." Michael looked up. "Then let's find it." Meanwhile, James worked on something big. He went through everything: old notes, names, faces, videos. He found a connection. Reggie wasn't just a gang leader. He was working with a corrupt city official, someone who protected the Iron Fangs for years. The name? Officer Briggs. He had blocked every report against Reggie. Closed every case. Took money. Hid evidence. James showed everything to Lisa, who prepared a report. Then they handed it to a local journalist, the same one who had covered their blog story. Within 24 hours, the news broke. Iron Fangs protected by corrupt police officer, community demands action. The city exploded with noise. Protests started. People gathered outside the police station. The mayor was forced to speak. Officer Briggs was arrested. And now, Reggie had no protection left. 3 days later, Michael received a message. No name. Just an address. Midnight. Come alone. Michael showed it to James. "You're not going," James said. "I have to. He could kill you." Michael looked him in the eye. "Then I make sure it counts." Midnight. Michael walked to the abandoned parking lot behind the old movie theater. Reggie was waiting. Alone. Smoking. "You made a mess, kid," Reggie said. Michael stood tall. "I cleaned your mess." Reggie laughed. "You think you changed something? These streets don't change." Michael shook his head. "Maybe not all at once. But now, people aren't afraid." Reggie stepped forward. "You want to finish this? Let's finish it." He reached into his jacket. Michael didn't flinch. But before Reggie could move, flashlights lit up the lot. Dozens of neighbors. Journalists. Cameras. Police. James stepped out of the shadows. "We didn't come alone." Reggie froze. This wasn't a street fight. This was truth catching up with him. Police arrested him on the spot. No punches were thrown. No one had to bleed. This time, the fight ended with facts, not fists. Weeks passed. The city changed. The youth center reopened, this time with a new name. The Carter Walker Center for Change. Michael and James started running free boxing classes for teens. They taught more than fighting. They taught control. Respect. Discipline. Power without violence. Lisa launched a full blog series called The Block Watch Files, helping other neighborhoods speak up. Deshaun opened an art studio. Tyree became a computer teacher. Tyrell started writing poetry. One afternoon, a young boy walked into the gym. He looked at Michael, wide-eyed. "Are you the guy who beat the gang?" Michael smiled. "I didn't beat them. We stood up to them." The boy asked, "But weren't you scared?" Michael thought for a second. "Yeah. I was scared," he said. "But we weren't supposed to fight. We were supposed to survive. But sometimes, you have to fight for something bigger." The boy nodded. "I want to learn, too." Michael tossed him a pair of gloves. "Let's get to work." Final scene. Michael and James sit on the rooftop. The same one where it all started. The city looks calm. James laughs. Remember the promise? Michael nods. We broke it? Yeah. But we built something better. They sit in silence. Below them, kids play. Music plays from a window. The streets feel alive. Michael looks up at the sky. They weren't supposed to fight. But they did. And now, they're legends. The end.